This show is produced by the Hartman Media Company. For more information and links to all our great podcasts, visit hartmanmedia.com.
We got our last couple in the quad rented, and we got the last one of a duplex rented. And so we have full occupancy, and it sure feels good to get the full check every single month. It's just a great feeling. And so hopefully in December, we're going to take over 2 more. And actually before then, take over some from Alabama, actually all, and then Memphis as well.
Welcome to the Creating Wealth Show with Jason Hartman. You're about to learn a new slant on investing, some exciting techniques, and fresh new approaches to the world's most historically proven asset class that will enable you to create more wealth and freedom than you ever thought possible. Jason is a genuine self-made multimillionaire who's actually been there and done it. He's a successful investor, lender, developer, and entrepreneur who's owned properties in 11 states, had hundreds of tenants, and been involved in thousands of real estate transactions. This program will help you follow in Jason's footsteps on the road to your financial independence day. You really can do it. And now, here's your host, Jason Hartman, with the complete solution for real estate investors.
Greetings, empowered investors, and welcome to episode 2246. I am currently in Abu Dhabi. I attended the Bitcoin conference here yesterday, hung out with some friends of mine, and learned a lot. And one of the things that I have mentioned many, many times that I really want you to remember, internalize, consider, whatever, right? It's really important, is this fallacy that people have that they think things have to revert to a trend line. That is just simply not true. I mean, maybe they do eventually, but it could take so long and you could miss so many opportunities waiting. For example, yesterday, a lot of talk about cryptocurrencies, right? And again, I just want to say, I think cryptocurrencies are pretty darn speculative. Be careful. This is something you do on the side. It's not your main strategy, okay? But depending on how wealthy you are and what you have to work with, it could be, definitely part of your strategy. So we'll leave it at that. But people who keep trying to time the market and they keep waiting, well, things are going to come down. Bitcoin's going to be 20,000 again. It's going to be $400 again, right? Why is it going to do that? Like, what evidence, what actual data do these people have that say that, a house is going to cost $40,000 again, or rent is going to be, $400 a month again, right? There's just no evidence to support that. And the great thing about housing is it's really hard to create inventory. There are very big hurdles to creating new housing. We all know how difficult it is to get entitlements, to build anything, to source materials, labor. There's a massive labor shortage. And that is the great thing about it, is that you will continue to have scarcity. Remember, things have value based on 2 components. I've said this forever. The 2 primary value drivers of any commodity, and that commodity could be money, by the way, it could be currency. The 2 primary value drivers, what are they? You've heard me say it before. They are scarcity and utility. If you have scarcity, if you have utility, you have value. Meaning, do people want it? Do people need it? Can people use it? Yes, that creates value. That definitely creates value. If the currency is plentiful, if they're printing it like crazy, if they're printing money like it's going out of style, then it is going out of style. And we always have to remember that any investment we have, it's just a matter of winning the race. You don't have to knock it out of the park. You don't have to hit a home run. You just have to beat most of the population, right? If you're winning, if you're doing better, if your investments are outperforming 51% of the population, then guess what? You are on the road to wealth. Why? Because if everybody's getting wealthy at the same rate, right, or everybody's getting the same return on investment, then the prices in the marketplace of all the goods and services you buy will simply go up to meet the new wealth that's created. But if you can do it faster than everybody else, that is really, really fantastic. By the way, for those of you watching on video, I don't want to forget to mention this gorgeous view I have here in Abu Dhabi at the Fairmont Hotel. I mean, look behind me. You can see this incredible mosque. I heard it's the third largest mosque in the world. And I don't know if you can see it out in the distance there behind me, but I am right on this waterfront. It's just absolutely gorgeous at this hotel. You know, I've got a nice suite here. I am good at getting hotel deals, good at getting bargains. But also, you know, look, like I said when I was in Peru many years ago, and you heard me talking on the show, just take care of this money thing. Check it off the list. It's just a thing that everybody in life, they have to just do it, right? And you might as well just get this one out of the way, right? So no matter where you are in your journey, get the money thing out of your way. And then you can afford to travel in luxury and do all the best things. You know, it just brings the world within range, right? You just do a lot of stuff. I mean, for example, today I'm flying to Doha. Then I'm flying after that. I'm flying to Bali to meet some friends of mine that are over there. Of course, I'm looking at real estate deals in all of these places. I met with a broker in Dubai the other day. I think I told you that on the last episode. You know, really, really cool experiences you can have when you have the resources to create those experiences for yourself. So just check this money thing off the list. Anyway, what were we talking about? That was a tangent alert. Tangent alert. I know I haven't called those out lately, but call me out on my tangents. If you're watching on video, just comment below. But I got to tell you, last night, they also had fireworks, right? I looked out the window, there were fireworks. It was just beautiful over the waterway here, and just incredible. Okay, so you've got to create wealth faster than most of the population. Then you're getting rich by comparison, right? Compared to what, right? You are ahead of the market. And so whether you're looking at stocks, and you know, most people say the stock market is overvalued. Look at these price to earnings ratios, the PE ratios, they're way out of whack. They're higher than they should be, right? And they make that case. And that is a fair statement. But there are other factors, right? There's all this new wealth being created in the world as we've got the rising 3 billion, we've got the rising middle class, and we've got all this wealth being created all around the world. And there is a limited supply of assets for those people to invest in. And, you know, here in the UAE, I mean, it is insane the kind of money. Like if you live in a rich area in the US, like where I used to live in Newport Beach or Palm Beach, Florida, Newport Beach, California, or Palm Beach, Florida, you know, or even Scottsdale, Arizona, these rich areas, you see expensive cars, you see expensive homes, you see people living it up. And you come to the Middle East in some places, and you come to Asia, and you think, wow, the US ain't got nothing on this. There's just so much wealth. But the US does have mass wealth. It has a very large segment of very, very wealthy people. I mean, the most billionaires, et cetera, et cetera. I don't have to go through that with you. So anyway, this is all stuff to think about as we're in the investment game. But I want to show you a couple things here, because a lot of people say that, hey, you know, the rents are so high in the US, the housing prices are so high in the US, it's got to change. Rents are going to soften. Housing prices are going to soften, right? They say that. And, you know, there are little things here and there going on, of course, right? That's always the case. All real estate is local. And there are little fluctuations in the market and in different price segments and so on and so forth. You know, you can't paint this stuff with a broad brush. But the overall macro trend is not just true in the US of higher prices and higher rents. Look at where else it's true. Spain. Okay, so this article is about Spain. It says protesters in Spain object to skyrocketing rents. Average cost of rent in Spain has doubled in just 10 years. So there was this giant protest in Barcelona, or Barcelona, if you want to say it right, a week ago Saturday, protesting skyrocketing cost of renting an apartment in the popular tourist destination. Protesters cut off traffic on main avenues in the city center, holding up homemade signs in Spanish reading, quote, fewer apartments for investing and more homes for living. See, investors want to buy up the inventory, and they want to control the inventory, right? And they also had signs that said, quote, people without homes uphold their rights, unquote. Exactly what does that mean? Oh, well, I guess uphold the rights of the people that don't have a home. Okay. The lack of affordable housing has become one of the leading concerns in the southern European Union country, the AP reports, mirroring the housing crunch in many parts of the world, including the US. Okay. So what else happened here in Barcelona? Look at this, right? The article goes on to say, now social concerns led by housing have displaced political crusades. This is because the average rent in Spain has doubled in the past 10 years. The price per square meter has risen from $7.50 per month US in 2014 to $13.50 this year, right? According to the real estate website Idealista. Okay, the growth is even more acute in cities like Barcelona and Madrid. Incomes have failed to keep up, especially for younger people in a country with chronically high unemployment. And look at what this says. A report by the Bank of Spain indicates that nearly 40% of Spaniards who rent dedicate an average of 40% of their income to paying rent and utilities, compared to the EU average, the European Union average, of 27%. So this is a big deal. And guess what? It's going to get worse around the world before it gets better. And that is true in the US as well. That is definitely true in the US. I mean, look, it does not, the silly idea that people think just because it was lower before, just because it was more affordable in the past, it has to come down. That simply ain't true. It might be true if we had more supply, right? Or if we had less demand, then it could be true for sure. But because of that large supply-demand imbalance, it's just not going to be true for quite a long time. Okay, here is a property example that we have on your favorite website, jasonhartman.com. Just click on the properties page there to see all of our great property. Well, sorry, I take that back. You won't see all of our great properties there because some of them aren't on the website. And that's why you need to talk with an investment counselor. So reach out to our team through jasonhartman.com, or you can call us as well, 714-820-4200. And our investment counselors will be happy to help you. Just press extension 2 and you'll be connected with an investment counselor. Okay, or you can leave a message. So this one is 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, brand new home, 2-car garage, almost 1,800 square feet for $259,900. It'll take about $77,000 to buy it. You're only paying $147 per square foot for brand new construction. Okay. Attractive, business-friendly Alabama, where my mother lives, business-friendly place, super low property taxes there, by the way. A lot of people like that feature, especially recently with property taxes going up. And by the way, remember, with your property taxes, you can dispute those bills, okay? You always have the right to appeal the assessment, but on balance, just remember, the reason the property taxes go up is because your property has appreciated so much. So don't be completely upset about this, right? Because it is overall good news. But yes, you can appeal those property taxes. We've done shows on that in the past over the years. That's something that you should check out. Doing an appeal, you can hire companies to help you with this. It's pretty cheap for them to do it, or you can do it yourself. Okay, so projected rent here is $1,650 per month. We're basing this on 25% down plus closing cost, about $77,000 to buy this property. And your expenses are all outlined here. You've got your modest appreciation projection, really realistic vacancy projection, vacancy 1 month per year. There's no management fee right away on this because you've got some free property management baked in. You will eventually have management fees, but we really recommend, of course, that you self-manage your properties, and we can help you do that. We can provide you the tools to do that, especially if you are a member of our Empowered Investor Pro group that is cheaper than the cost of a gym membership. So join that and join me on Zoom every month in a small group setting where I will help you, coach you, solve your problems, and we'll get you on track with self-management, give you all the tools to do that. Maintenance percentage, again, brand new home. So you're probably not going to have any maintenance for your first couple of years, but we still throw 2% into the pro forma just to be conservative. Positive cash flow projected at $123 per month, or almost $1,500 per year. Your overall return on investment here projected at 22% annually. As I always say, even if it only goes half as well as expected, you're going to still be getting a great return on investment from the most historically proven asset class in the entire world and the most tax-favored asset class in America. Now, remember, that 22% projected return does not include tax benefits like expense deductions you can take when you're a real estate investor, depreciation, the most beautiful non-cash write-off ever, 1031 exchange, where you can reinvest profits before taxes. You can't do that in the stock market. You can't do that with cryptocurrencies. You can't do that with a business. You can't do it with anything else except beautiful income property, the most historically proven asset class in the entire world. All right. If you need help with your investment properties, you need help with a portfolio makeover to determine the highest and best use of any assets you have, how to maximize and optimize for tax strategy, management efficiency, passive income efficiency, highest rents, highest cash flows, highest capital appreciation potential. Our investment counselors are here to help you. It's totally free. Just reach out and get a free consultation. You can fill out any web form on jasonhartman.com or call 714-820-4200 and press 2, and you'll get to an investment counselor, and they'll be happy to assist you in building a great portfolio for yourself. Today, I have a fascinating interview for you where you are going to get the inside story from a Ukrainian citizen about the war effort and the geopolitical situation in Ukraine, Russia, etc., Eastern Europe. I have visited both Ukraine and Russia several times and was very saddened when the invasion occurred, and I was very much on Ukraine's side initially. And I have not changed my opinion of that. However, I have changed my opinion of the motivation behind the war and so forth. And sadly, it just seems to have become a big money laundering scheme, unfortunately, and a big support of the military-industrial complex, which is awful. And as I always say, as long as war is profitable, there will never be peace. But today, let's get the inside scoop on this from a Ukrainian friend of mine who does not want to be identified. We will call him Nick. And Nick, welcome. It's good to see you.
Thank you for having me, Jason.
It's my pleasure. And thank you so much for informing people about what is really going on and what people are really saying behind the scenes, what the real thoughts are on this war. So I'll just let you take it wherever you want initially and have some questions, but just give us kind of the overview and your perspective, if you would.
What helped us at the very beginning, and I mean at the end of 2021, before the big invasion began, and at the beginning of 2022, most of our friends and family members were watching exclusively Ukrainian media, and we can say Ukrainian propaganda. Right. At that time, we were far away from our home country. With my wife, and for some reason we were watching American news, we were watching Indian news, we were watching Arabic channels, we were watching Russian channels, Ukrainian channels, and the picture just before it all started was so much different from different point of views. And we had, and I think we had a much better way to put the puzzle together. And answering the question what's going on in Ukraine is still very difficult, because what Western media, mass media says, and what for instance, their global South media would say, it's often just the opposite. Yeah. And I learned that when we only rely on one way of thinking, we miss the whole picture by probably 99%. Yep. And I used to be subscribed to the Economist magazine. I used to respect the magazine. Yep. But then I learned, like again, in 2022, I've seen how much misinformation or just not delivering the full picture was published on the pages of the magazine. So for me,
and I agree. By the way, the Economist used to be such a reputable source, but like so many other outlets, they've been bought out. You know, they've just become an agenda. So you're absolutely right. But
what's going on in Ukraine, to answer this question, I would say if somebody really wanted to learn it deep, I would suggest watch or read Indian sources, Chinese sources, Russian, Ukrainian, of course, Western, and maybe, I don't know, some others. From my understanding is we are not in Ukraine since we left Ukraine just 3 months before the invasion. And I was lucky enough just to have this feeling that something is going to happen. I didn't know what it will be. When it happened, I realized why we were just moved. We were taken out of the country. We couldn't stay there. In November 2021, three and a half months before the invasion, we couldn't be in there. We had to leave. I mean, left.
What do you mean? So,
this feeling, there's like emptiness. There's like, you know, when a tsunami is going to approach.
You could feel it happening before.
The water goes into the ocean.
Yep.
So I had this kind of feeling like it's too quiet. It's like something is going. I couldn't really understand what it is, what it could be. So we were lucky enough to leave the country. But for what I understand now, every day the situation is worsening and worsening and worsening, and no money from the West, no weapon armor from the West will improve the situation. There's no chance. It can only make the situation, the country, the people life worse. And people are still living in Ukraine illegally because men from 18 to 60 are not allowed. 18 to 60 are not allowed to leave the country. People paid at the beginning. They were paying $3,000. At the very few days, they were paying just $1,000 to the border guard, and they were left out. A couple of weeks later, it's the price was $3,000 to $5,000. Then it's $10,000. Now some people would pay a couple of 20 and more thousand US dollars, and this is a huge money for Ukraine. For American, it's relatively okay, maybe.
What do you mean they would pay? Pay who for what?
Oh, they pay for illegal either for illegal dogs, like for the medical.
To be able to leave the country? Is that what you're saying?
medical like the tests that they are
ineligible to fight.
Yeah, or they would just pay someone at the border to guide them through the forest or through the river, or people from the military who are guarding their borders or who are involved in medical exams. They became millionaires in a matter of just weeks, I think. Weeks. Now they are all multimillionaires, and
because they were letting people go.
Yeah, because they were selling these lucky tickets,
right, to get out of the country.
Thousands of people, to
get out of the country. You're saying, right? Okay, so these border guards made a lot of money doing that. They were, the first profiteers after the military-industrial complex. But I just want to ask you straight out, and I know we'll kind of jump around here on topics. Is this war unwinnable?
My understanding is that the war is not winnable. And I remember before actually it all started, I already knew that the likelihood is very high that Russia will invade. So I started to study some materials. And just before the big invasion, I learned that American Institute for the War, something like this is the name. Its name. They said it was predicted that the likelihood of Ukraine winning the war with Russia is only 1%. What we have now in Ukraine, territory are lost, people are killed, and Russia continues the invasion slowly but surely.
Look, nobody profiting wants this war to end. They want to keep it going. And it's just so sad that they're destroying so much property and so many lives. But how could it end? Should Ukraine just give up part of its land to Russia? Or, what happens? What is an ending strategy? What's an end game here?
That's interesting to see how people think that the war began on February 24th, 2022. The war began, in my opinion, at least 10 years ago in 2014 when we had
the Crimea situation.
With the Crimea and eastern part of Ukraine. And to end the war, we have to understand, to ask what Russians want. And for what I have learned, but when I studied, and I've studied this war for a month, maybe for a couple of years already, they want to be respected. They want to be an equal part on the global arena. And the West doesn't want Russia to be that big player. They want Russia to be weak. They want Russia probably to dispel in multiple states. But Russia would be satisfied when West would recognize it and respect. This is my understanding and opinion. And if Russia would be really, truly respected and welcomed into the club, Russia, in this case, Russia would probably give back even Crimea. If they were truly players in a club, they wouldn't care about Crimea. As long as they are not respected, put it down, they would resist with every means that are available.
Right. Yeah, and that's just unlikely to happen with the current environment. How do you think Trump would treat this differently versus Biden-Harris administration?
I watched probably a dozen of Trump's rally speeches. And I'm always wondering what is his strategy for success.
He always says he'll end the war, but there's not much.
Yeah, he always says he has a recipe, but he won't tell it now because then it won't be an element of surprise. I have no idea how, but people at that level, they know even much more than we do, and I think he has something under the belt.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I have no idea. I have no idea. But I don't believe that Trump will be supporting the idea of Ukraine brought back to the borders of 1991,
Yeah, right.
as it was in 2014.
Talk to us about the corruption that's going on. Both you and your wife believe there's an incredible amount of corruption happening, and I have no doubt that there is. But can you elaborate on that for us?
What is corruption for you?
People taking money that is supposed to be going for one thing to another thing, certainly. People getting rich off the war. Maybe Zelensky is one of them. There just seems to be too much interest in keeping the war going because it's profitable.
Ukraine is considered to be one of the most corrupted countries in the world, probably at the moment, the most corrupted country.
Yep.
I don't have facts, me personally. Yep. I only have ideas that I have read or watched in some oppositional Telegram channels. Corruption is just everywhere. As I said, the border, I know. Okay, I tell you the story, what corruption is from my friend's experience. They paid $5,000 for my friend with his wife and two daughters to leave the country with fake medical tests.
Yeah.
At the border, they were caught because that paper was not well written. So he was caught. He was put in under the investigation. He had the criminal judge. He was heading for 5 or 7 years in prison just because he had that paper which was faked. When he was caught at the border, another guy who was supposed to investigate him said, "We can go through the court. You'll be in prison for 5 or 7 years. Oh, you just pay me $7,000 and I arrange it, and you leave the country."
Yeah.
And 1 month later, he paying this another guy, so altogether $12,000. He left the country. The corruption is just, in these terms, it's just everywhere. People are earning on the war. There are people very happy that the war is going on in Ukraine because they're becoming multimillionaires in matter of no time.
Right. All these war profiteers. And I mean, they're rounding up men on the streets without any proper training and putting them in the battlefield. Tell us what's going on there.
We've probably seen already this. There are thousands, probably already by now, there's thousands of videos showing people being kidnapped from the streets. Like a couple of days ago, the big concert was going on in the center of Kiev. I don't know how many people there were. Probably 20,000, maybe 30,000, maybe even more. I just don't know the capacity of that hall. And at the exit, after the concert, I think it was 50 military agents packing people in the buses.
Wow. And that's just men. That's all men, right?
No, it's only men. It's only men. What helps, actually, when women are involved and they protect the men, they start to cry loudly. They start to videotaping it. And in this case, sometimes these agents are leaving people just on the street.
Unbelievable.
And it happens just everywhere. Kiev, the capital of Ukraine, used to be, in these terms, safe up until probably half a year ago. Mm-hmm. Now it's going on also in Kiev. But people in the rural areas, they have experienced this since the last 2 years. And I have learned that there are villages in Ukraine, many actually villages, where there are no man population except for the young and for the very old, because they were all taken and most of them already dead.
Unbelievable. It's awful. How does it end? When does it end? Does it just keep going forever? But what are other Ukrainians and Russians thinking that you talk to?
They're thinking the way I'm thinking is not popular. It is common, but people are afraid to express the wish that the war will stop today. Because when it stops today, Ukraine has to lose the territories. Technically, Ukraine lose. So when I starts to say we have to stop the war, this was my message from the very beginning, from 2022, from the February 24th. I was saying we have to stop. There's no chance to win. I was hate to say at least hated, but I was receiving threats in my private messengers. People were saying that they will find me whenever I'm in the world. I don't know the percentage. Again, I don't know how true these numbers are, but the rating of Zelensky is at the lowest possible level now, around 15%, 15, 17. The last number I heard was 17, and it was 8 months ago. Most Ukrainians are fed up, especially the Ukrainians that are still in Ukraine, Ukrainians that left Ukraine either to Russia or either to the West. Many of them have already forgot about their home country. They are just involved in the daily routine. They new country. The children going to the school or to the university. They have to work some money. Also, because of this kidnapping on the streets, people are very, very much against President Zelensky. Or should we not call him anymore? Because he's illegal too. His president ran out in May.
And he just stayed in, right?
And he stood there.
Right. Yeah. So at first, though, people were probably in favor of Zelensky. I'm guessing.
Very much.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
More than 90%.
Yeah, that's definitely changed. People know Zelensky is profiting personally from the war. At least most people think so. In terms of the numbers, the UN estimates there, as of a few months ago, there were about 5.4 million Ukrainian refugees. Some say 10, 20 million. That's like half the country's population, if it's that high. What do those numbers look like, and where are they going? I mean, are they just dispersing all over Europe, or?
In Germany at the moment, there are 1.2 or 1.3 millions Ukrainians. Mm-hmm. In Poland, it used to be 1.2. Now it dropped to about 1 million, or probably 900,000, just because Poland says it will be sending Ukrainian men back to Ukraine. Mm-hmm. And so 300,000 people just run from Poland to Germany. Mm-hmm. There are 250,000 people Ukrainians in the UK. So altogether, the estimates is between 4.5, 5, maybe 6 million Ukrainians in Europe. I heard the number that about 4 million of Ukrainians flew to Russia. So it already makes around 10 million. There are over 100,000 Ukrainians in Canada now and in the USA. So probably another 200,000, maybe 300,000. And a very small part goes to like Turkey and Emirates or some Asian countries, very small, and very little to Australia or Japan. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Ukrainians are now just everywhere, like bigger nations like Chinese. You can meet Chinese people everywhere. Mm-hmm. Ukraine used to be very small, like 35 million population. Now Ukrainians are just like everywhere.
Right. That's, the Polish people have definitely dispersed around the world for decades now. What else would you like people to know about this, Nick?
My request would be, it's always better and healthier to have the more complete picture. To have the more complete picture, we have to see their point of view, not only from their one side, like from the Western media, because most of the Western media are controlled by that media magnate groups, and a very small percentage of media still have a different opinion. We love to see, sometimes, not every day, WION, this big Indian channel, as I said, Arabic Al Jazeera, but Al Jazeera is very much pro-Ukrainian war. But on the issue of Israel-Palestinian conflict, they have a very different opinion. To have the clear picture, we must make an effort and find the truth through different sources, and not from just biased one side. All media more or less are biased, but when we take sources from different directions, then we can put the picture together.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was very much against Russia when it was 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, up until 2021. Mm-hmm. But when I learned where Ukraine is going and what is ahead of us, I realized we are going in a totally different wrong direction. And I was totally disagreeing with what the Ukrainian government and president were taking us further. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And in this terms, some say you are pro-Russian. I'm not pro-Russian. I haven't been to Russia for more than 10 years. Right. I'm Ukrainian because I don't want people to die. I don't want their territory to be lost, and I don't the infrastructure to be destroyed. I'm probably people like me are much more pro-Ukrainian than people who are happy to kill their own population, happy to destroy their own power plants and
other people,
Yes.
Wow. It's really an truly awful situation. But we really appreciate you coming on and sharing your thoughts about it at risk to you. That was just very nice of you to do that. Anything else you want people to know before you go?
The good thing is that more and more Ukrainians, at least, are opening their eyes. And what I was speaking about 2.5 years ago, for many Ukrainians are now is obvious truth. But 2.5 years ago, it was like, you are too pro-Russian, you are for Putin, etc. No, as I said, I'm for Ukraine. And when you, I mean, the listener that would hear Ukrainians saying some things like this, understand they are very much pro-Ukrainians because they don't want the war to continue, people killed, infrastructure destroyed. They want their countries to be saved and prosper. And I don't know if it's possible now.
The way to be pro-Ukraine is to end the war.
Yes, the country has to be saved. The nation has to be saved. The future of the country has to be saved. And it's not saved when it is fighting against at least the second biggest war power on the earth, even with the support of 30 other nations.
Well, Nick, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate the insights and really wish for the best possible outcome.
Thank you very much, Jason, for having me.
Thank you so much for listening. Please be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss any episodes. Be sure to check out the show's specific website and our general website, hartmanmedia.com, for appropriate disclaimers and terms of service. Remember that guest opinions are their own, and if you require specific legal or tax advice or advice in any other specialized area, please consult an appropriate professional. And we also very much appreciate you reviewing the show. Please go to iTunes or Stitcher Radio or whatever platform you're using and write a review for the show. We would very much appreciate that. And be sure to make it official and subscribe so you do not miss any episodes. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode.